And I think what the Bananas do so well is say, like, well, what do fans care about? Like, it's a fan-first league, top to bottom.
Let's start talking about the Savannah Bananas. I mean, there's nothing bigger over the last couple of years, I think, than what Jesse Cole has done with this organization.
Yeah, they were just in Charlotte. I know they were also recently in Tampa. And I feel like the level of attendance and conversation, and especially like economic impact in those specific cities, it's Taylor Swift level at this point. I was looking at the numbers. I think they brought in just about 150,000 people into Charlotte over 2 nights, which is pretty wild, I would say. But we came across this YouTube video asking the question and posing the question of, are people starting to hate the Savannah Bananas, which I thought was just an interesting take because everything I've seen, hot take, yeah, because I feel like everything we've seen is so positive and they're growing so quickly. I don't think they're unfair questions to ask. And like some of the reasonings that were given in the video were pretty interesting as well. It's a question to pose for sure.
You know, I recently read Jesse Cole's book. He's written a couple of these books, but I think the one that I read was the one about the man in the yellow suit. He just had this vision for this thing years ago. You know, it was inevitable that there were going to be people that are like, oh, it's not traditional baseball. I don't think he's trying to create a traditional baseball. It is, you know, evolving into something bigger because he's creating entertainment. You know, I mean, they do so many amazing things well. They're sold out for the next 3 years.
Yeah.
And that's like small, like minor league stadiums. These are full-fledged NFL football, like these are football stadiums and 100,000 plus. I was at Costco recently and this lady went by with a banana shirt and I made a comment about it and she talked to me for about half an hour about what an incredible experience it was. The class that I teach at the University of Florida, one of my students went to a game and she's just like now a diehard fan. She wears the hat every day. So they've created this loyalty. I've never seen anything like that on the scale and also at the speed of how much it's grown.
Yeah, it's interesting because one of the main reasons given as to why people are pushing back on it, or I guess starting to have negative feelings toward it, it always brings it back to like, okay, well, there's a clash between what people think is traditional baseball and like those traditions and just what that feels like when you're at an event versus what the Bananas are doing. And then I also think there's just this idea that you're going to alienate core baseball fans. I don't think it was ever for them. Like, I think the people complaining about it are not the target audience. It's all of the people that I think MLB has really struggled and kind of failed at targeting in terms of like these younger, more diverse types of fans. Women specifically is a big one for them as well on the Banana side, that they've really been able to get a good, solid female fan base. And so I think when you look at like the people that are complaining versus the people who the Bananas care about, they're just not the same. It's like two circles, not a Venn diagram. To say that they're really not a replacement for MLB is also not true, because I've seen people make that argument. I don't think it's a replacement directly in terms of what the actual product and game is, but I do think that when you look at like the ESPN deal, right, they're direct competitors. At the end of the day, like sports and entertainment properties across the entire industry are competing with each other, even if they're not the same type of event or the same type of sport or the same type of entertainment product. They're still competing for broadcast partners, for attention, for audience. And so I think the ESPN deal is just one example of the way that the Bananas approach to the sport and what that is bringing about is outpacing MLB.
MLB has done a lot of things, I would say, that, and they're going to learn a lot of things from the Bananas.
Yeah.
Things that the Bananas have incorporated are going to be part of the MLB lexicon soon. Obviously, they'll probably start with the minor leagues to start experimenting with different things. But, I mean, look at what they did with the, you know, if a player hits a foul ball and a fan catches it, they're out. Some of the rules are so innovative, and that's where the popularity of what the Bananas are doing is going to somehow slowly kind of seep and marinate into the way the MLB does things. And inevitably you're going to have I love baseball. Baseball was my first love, but there is no sport that likes to be sort of like, I am, you know, as sophisticated or as, you know, elitist as a baseball fan, right? It comes with the literature. It comes with the fandom. You know, what I love about what the Bananas are doing is that they're just, honestly, they're putting the fun back into the game. And they're doing it in a way that, as you said, whether it's players on stilts or, flaming bats or, these crazy dance routines. It's like the Rockettes meets like the Globetrotters meets it's like a Broadway show.
Yeah, it's interesting too, and I think you're right in the sense of baseball takes itself so seriously, and this is something I've said in a lot of roles that I've been in of the more seriously you take yourself and the more you try to convince other people that you are this like big, huge, serious brand, the less they're going to view you that way, right? Like that's just not what fans are after. That's not what audiences are after. They want something that feels not even relatable, but just like it understands them, right? The Bananas is really obviously an escalation of like what minor league teams were doing for a long time, not in the sense of like the game and the rules, but certainly some of the gimmicks, some of like the fun branding, some of the game day type of offers and deals. And I know like in Jacksonville, minor league is huge because it's like bring your dog to the stadium on Wednesdays. It's just those things that make it really fun. There are plenty of people who love baseball who want to see it in its original form. But I think when you are working backwards of what you as the sport cares about to try to convince people to come over, it's not going to work. And I think what the Bananas do so well is say like, well, what do fans care about? Like it's a fan first league top to bottom, and it speaks for itself when it's happening on the field, when people show up for these events. And now for it to get a huge television deal out of it, I feel like when you put fans at the center of what you're doing, you're going to have the payoff on the back end.
Yeah, and inevitably with success comes the haterade with it, right? I think, what was it, earlier this year, there was some sort of like critique, that there's a clown show. And I think there was some sort of viral tweet about that mocked, the sportsmanship that they showed. And it was just like, what was it, 19 million plus viewers?
Yeah.
And it was just like a bunch of avalanche of hate. They don't care. And that's what I love about it. They are fan first. There's energy. There's like, what do they have? The Banana Nanas, which was like their senior citizen dance team. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like everything. It's sensory overload on
Yeah.
the best way. Like, there's like nothing is boring, nothing is slow. What Jesse has done on all levels of making this like a full fledged like media operation. I mean, you name it. You go on YouTube, you can watch the games. You can go on, different over the top services and watch a documentary series on the team. You can go on
Yeah.
TikTok, and they have hit every platform so well. And I know you're the resident TikTok expert and the short form expert, and they've done some amazing things there.
Yeah, and I love it too because I feel like they are not precious about where the content's coming from, which I think is also incredibly important. If you're too precious about where the content's being distributed from and you want everything to look and feel like your, brand guidelines and all of that, you're really limiting yourself. And this is a good example because a lot of the content that I see is not from the verified Savannah Bananas accounts, right? And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's the fact that like you've got a network of athletes that want to share all this content, that are excited about participating in it. I am not internal in the organization, but I would assume a lot of the players are driving a lot of the ideas and the content and trying to essentially become a name and a face within the league itself.
Yeah, what are other lessons that you think other companies can take from what the Bananas do, in your opinion? Like, what do you love about the takeaways from what Jesse's done?
I think it goes back to just like that fan first nature. Like everything should be with the idea of how are people going to be experiencing your product, your event, your content. Like I think that is something that you can feel is front of mind for Jesse and for everyone who works there, and also the athletes. The athletes driving the content helps. Also meeting fans where they are. They have like they are on the TikTok trends before we can even process them. Like they know every trend when it's happening. They program it. Every show is a bit different. I feel like it's very tailored to what's happening. And I feel like that benefits them a lot because they end up in a growth kind of spiral with the algorithm, but then also fans feel like they're in touch with what's happening, which many, many brands are just not. And so I think being timely and being a consumer as well as leaning into what's happening in real time from the trends and platform perspective really helps them too.
Yeah, I think just from a sheerly like content standpoint, they have created such an incredible ecosystem for themselves, right? They're so big, but what they've done is they've given their athletes, the people that work for them, their own platform, right? There are players on that team that have hundreds of thousands of, YouTube subscribers. And none of these guys may have even made it to the major leagues. And that's
Yeah.
fascinating that they are able to create a career for themselves on the baseball field, whereas they're not ever going to make it to the major leagues. And I think that's what's so incredible. And I love the fact that he's done it on every platform, right? It starts with this like cerebral, visceral experience of in-house, yet he's extending it out the door to so many people that you have to be at this concert. And I love what you were
Yeah.
saying. There is a Taylor Swift type of ambiance, the sheer scale of it.
I don't know that this exhibition model of sports entertainment is the next wave of where the industry is going. It certainly could be, but I also feel like this is just a bit of lightning in a bottle. And I don't know that we're going to see the rise of like a bunch of exhibition leagues. Like, I don't think that's going to happen, but I do think it is an indication of where even traditional sports leagues can go in terms of just incorporating different things that improve the game, whether it's quicker pace or less stopping or just things that speak to what fans want out of like their game day experience or their entertainment experience. I think that's where sports properties are going to continue to win. And then on the social content side, it's going to be meeting people where they are and being able to, like you said, hit it on every platform and just feel like you're in the like actual atmosphere, like you're in the zeitgeist of the internet. Because I think the brands who do that fare the best across platforms.
Yeah, I'm as fascinated with what they're doing because if you think about it, I mean, he is like a Walt Disney and a P.T. Barnum, and he's
Yeah.
all these incredible promoters and showmen all mixed in one, and it'll be fascinating to see how this eventually evolves. But I think that there's so many incredible takeaways of what they do on a storytelling level.